The story opens in media res with razor-sharp tension. Benoit stands motionless in the center of the penthouse at 3:13 p.m., his silhouette framed against floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Seoul. The moment Vicky steps through the door, her keys still jangling in her hand, his voice slices through the silence like a blade. "Why do you smell like another man?" The narrative immediately establishes that Vicky has been living and working in Benoit's penthouse for 6 months. A careful arrangement where she keeps her head down, does her job, and maintains a professional wall between them. She's been trying to keep her recent job interview a secret, knowing that her employer isn't just observant. He's dangerously, obsessively fixated on her every move. We learn that Vicky is an educated woman with a degree she never uses, deliberately hiding behind a maid's uniform to escape the wreckage of her past life in Chicago. She came to Seoul to disappear, to be invisible, to finally breathe without looking over her shoulder. But Benoit is a 32-year-old man forged in violence, a Korean Mafia boss whose entire empire was built on noticing what others miss. His dark eyes, penetrating, relentless, flecked with gold when the light hits them just right, see through every carefully constructed lie. He notices the way she holds her coffee cup, the exact second she looks away, the cadence of her breathing when she's nervous. And today, standing in his expensive dress shirt with rolled sleeves, his sharp jawline tight with barely controlled fury, he's noticed something that makes his blood run cold. The foreign scent of garlic and grease clinging to her clothes. The faint trace of cologne that isn't his. The way her chin is lifted just a fraction too high, defensive, guilty, caught. The confrontation has begun, and there's nowhere left for Vicky to hide. Subscribe to see how this unfolds and comment where you're watching from. I will love to say hello to you. Benoit, sharp-featured with an intense gaze, wearing a tailored dark suit that speaks to wealth and control. His posture is close, invasive, claiming space. There's a dangerous stillness to him, like a predator deciding whether to strike or circle. His hand is positioned near her, not quite touching, but the threat of contact is electric.
Vicky.
Wearing a fitted red dress, perhaps borrowed or a rare night off, her long dark hair falls around her face as she stands trapped between him and the wall. Her expression is guarded but defiant, chin up, spine straight, refusing to cower even as his proximity threatens to consume all the air in the room. Her hand is raised, palm out, as if to create distance, but it's a weak barrier against his intensity. There's exhaustion in her eyes, but also fire. She's not broken yet. The image captures the exact moment before everything explodes, the unbearable closeness, the push-pull of attraction and fear, the luxury kitchen in the background reminding us this is his world, and she's just trying to survive in it. Vicky doesn't move, doesn't breathe. The keys slip from her fingers and clatter against the marble floor, the sound obscenely loud in the suffocating silence. Benoit takes a step closer, and she sees it then. The barely leashed rage simmering beneath his composed exterior. His expensive dress shirt is perfectly pressed, sleeves rolled to his elbows revealing forearms corded with muscle and ink. But his hands are curled into fists at his sides, knuckles white. "I asked you a question." His voice is soft. Deadly soft. "I don't." Vicky starts, but he's already moving, circling her like a predator assessing prey. He stops behind her, close enough that she can feel the heat radiating from his body. Then he leans in, and she feels his breath against her neck as he inhales deeply, deliberately. "Garlic," he murmurs, his lips almost brushing her skin. "Cheap cooking oil." And cologne, something Western pedestrian. He moves around to face her, those dark eyes boring into hers. "Where were you, Vicky?" Her spine stiffens. "It's my day off. Where I go is my own business." The muscle in his jaw twitches. "Your own business." He repeats the words like they taste foul. "You live in my home. You eat my food. You sleep 20 feet from my bedroom. Another step closer, backing her against the wall. Nothing about you is your own business. That's not. Her voice cracks, and she hates herself for it. That's not how employment works, Benoit. His hand slams against the wall beside her head, making her flinch. But when she forces herself to meet his gaze, what she sees isn't just anger. It's something rawer, more desperate. Don't. His voice drops to a whisper. Don't lie to me. I can see it in your eyes. You're planning something. You're going to leave. The accusation hangs between them, too accurate to deny completely. I went to a job interview, she says finally, lifting her chin. At a restaurant in Gangnam. That's where the smell comes from. The manager's cologne, the kitchen grease. That's it. Benoit stares at her for a long moment, something flickering across his face. Hurt, maybe, or betrayal, before his expression hardens back into stone. You want to leave me, he says flatly. I want to work somewhere that pays me properly. Somewhere I have actual days off without an interrogation. She pushes against his chest, needing space, needing air. This isn't normal, Benoit. The way you watch me, the way I what? He doesn't move away. If anything, he leans closer. Say it. The way you look at me, like you own me. His laugh is bitter, sharp. If I owned you, you wouldn't have been able to walk out that door this morning. He finally steps back, running a hand through his dark hair. If I owned you, Vicky, you'd know it. She watches him stride toward the windows, his shoulders rigid with tension. The setting sun paints the city below in shades of amber and blood. I'm going to my room, she says quietly. He doesn't turn around. Go. But as she bends to retrieve her keys, his voice stops her cold. I counted every minute you were gone. 3 hours and 47 minutes. Do you want to know what I did during that time? She doesn't answer. I had park-run background checks on every restaurant in Gangnam, every manager, every owner. Now he'd his turn, and the look on his face makes her stomach drop. I was 30 seconds away from burning down whatever establishment dared to put their hands on you. Tell me that's normal, Vicky. Tell me I'm overreacting. She flees before he can see the tears threatening to spill. The knock comes at 11:47 p.m. Vicky has been lying in bed fully clothed, staring at the ceiling of her small room, luxurious by any standard except in comparison to the rest of Benoit's penthouse. She knew she wouldn't sleep. Not after this afternoon. Not with her mind replaying the desperate edge in his voice, the way his control had cracked just enough to show her what lurked beneath. 3 more knocks, quieter this time. Almost hesitant. When she opens the door, she barely recognizes him. Benoit's hair is disheveled, falling across his forehead in a way she's never seen. His dress shirt is rumpled, the top 3 buttons undone. He's barefoot, and in his hand is a crystal tumbler half filled with amber liquid. I can't sleep, he says simply. And I suspect you can't either. It's not an apology. Not quite. But it's the closest thing to vulnerable she's ever seen from him. What do you want? To talk. He takes a sip of his drink, his eyes never leaving hers. In my study. Just talk. No interrogations. No accusations. A pause. Please. That last word costs him something. She can see it in the way his jaw tightens. Benoit doesn't say please. Benoit gives orders and expects obedience. But here he stands asking. Against every instinct screaming at her to say no, Vicky follows him down the darkened hallway. His study is all dark wood and leather, the kind of room designed for making dangerous decisions. Floor-to-ceiling bookshelves line the walls, filled with volumes in Korean, English, and Japanese. A massive desk dominates one corner, but Benoit bypasses it entirely, heading instead to the sitting area, where a leather sofa faces a window overlooking the glittering Seoul skyline. He pours her whiskey without asking, expensive scotch that probably costs more than she made in a month, and hands it to her before settling into the opposite chair. For a long moment, they sit in silence, drinking, watching the city breathe below them. "I owe you an explanation," he says finally. "For this afternoon. For a lot of things." Vicky takes a larger swallow of whiskey than she probably should. "You don't owe me anything. I'm just... Don't." His voice is sharp. "Don't say you're just the maid. We both know that stopped being true months ago." He leans forward, elbows on his knees, cradling his glass. "I need you to understand something about me, Vicky. About the world I come from." "I know what you do," she says quietly. "I'm not naive. I don't mean the work." He waves a dismissive hand. "I mean where I learned to be this way. This thing you think is possessiveness." His eyes meet hers, and there's something raw in them. "Tell me about Chicago. About why you ran." The question catches her off guard. "Why do you want to know?" "Because you look at me like I'm a monster, and I need to know if it's because of what I am or because of what someone else was." The honesty in his voice cracks something open inside her chest. "My father," she starts, then stops. Starts again. "My father was a cop. Everyone thought he was this pillar of the community. Respected. Honorable." She laughs, but there's no humor in it. "At home, he was different. Every rule, every minute of my life. He controlled all of it. What I wore, who I talked to, what time I came home, and if I stepped out of line." She doesn't finish. She doesn't have to. "He hit you," Bonhua says flatly. "He said it was because he loved me, because the world was dangerous, and he needed to keep me safe." Vicky drains her glass, welcomes the burn. "Then I met Marcus. He was charming, sweet, everything my father wasn't. Or so I thought. But he was the same. Worse." The word comes out bitter. "Because at least with my father, I knew what to expect. Marcus was subtle. He isolated me from my friends, made me think I was crazy for questioning him, tracked my phone, my emails. By the time I realized what was happening, I'd lost everything. My support system, my self-respect, my degree in international relations that I'd worked so hard for." "How did you get out?" "I ran. Literally ran. I emptied my savings, bought a plane ticket to the farthest place I could think of, and disappeared." She looks at him. "I came here to be invisible, to work a job where nobody asked questions and nobody cared. And then I walked into your penthouse." Bonhua is quiet for a long moment, refilling both their glasses with steady hands. "My mother," he says finally, his voice barely above a whisper, "was killed when I was 7. By my father's rivals. They made me watch." He takes a drink. "My father's response was to teach me that love was weakness. That caring about someone meant giving your enemies a weapon to use against you. So he trained me to eliminate threats before they could strike. To control everything, everyone, because control meant survival." Vicky feels her breath catch. "I built my empire on that philosophy," he continues. "Ruthless efficiency. No attachments. No vulnerability." His eyes find hers in the darkness. "And then you walked into my home 6 months ago with your spine straight and your chin up, looking at me like I was just another man instead of something to fear. And he stops, jaw working. "I don't know how to be around you without trying to control you. Because caring about you terrifies me more than any rival ever could." The confession hangs between them, raw and bleeding. "I'm not asking you to stay," he says quietly. "I'm not even asking you to forgive this afternoon. I just need you to understand that when I see you planning to leave, when I smell another man on you, I'm not thinking rationally. I'm 7 years old again, watching the only person I loved die, and I'm desperate to stop it from happening again. Vicky sets down her glass with trembling hands. I'm not your mother, Bonwa. And you're not Marcus or my father. But this. She gestures between them. This isn't sustainable. You can't live in fear of losing something you don't even have. Don't I? His voice is so soft she almost doesn't hear it. Have you? She should say no. Should establish boundaries, create distance, remind him that she's an employee and nothing more. Instead, she reaches across the space between their chairs and places her hand over his. His fingers tighten around hers immediately, desperately, like she's the only thing keeping him anchored. They sit like that until dawn begins to paint the sky pink. Morning comes with the smell of coffee. Vicky wakes disoriented in her own bed. Bonwa must have carried her back to her room after she dozed off in his study, and for a moment, wonders if last night was a dream. The vulnerability, the confessions, the way his hand had held hers like she was something precious. Then she hears movement in the kitchen. She finds him standing at the espresso machine, still wearing the rumpled clothes from last night. His back is to her, but she can see the tension in his shoulders as he works with focused precision. You don't have to, she starts. 2 sugars, he says without turning around. Enough cream to turn it caramel. Stir for exactly 90 seconds so the sugar dissolves completely, but don't let it get cold. Vicky freezes in the doorway. He turns then, holding out a cup prepared exactly how she likes it. His dark eyes search her face. You think I haven't been paying attention? That my watching you is just obsession, just control. He steps closer. But I see you, Vicky. The way you warm the cup first when you're tired. How you take smaller sips on Mondays. The fact that you add an extra half sugar when it's raining. She takes the cup with shaking hands. It's perfect. Of course it's perfect. I know you, he says softly. And maybe that scares you. Maybe it scares me too. But I'm not doing it to control you. I'm doing it because... He trails off, jaw tightening. Because noticing you is the only thing that makes sense in my world anymore. Before Vicky can respond, before she can process the way her heart is hammering against her ribs, the penthouse intercom buzzes. Bonwa's expression shudders immediately. I have a meeting, he says, his voice cooling back to business mode. David Chun. Real estate development. The name means nothing to Vicky, but something in Bonwa's tone puts her on edge. Should I stay? It's not a request. I want you here. 20 minutes later, she understands why. David Chun is everything Bonwa isn't. Warm where Bonwa is cold. Open where Bonwa is guarded. He arrives in an expensive but approachable suit, his smile genuine and disarming. And when Bonwa coldly introduces Vicky as my maid, David does something unexpected. He extends his hand to her like an equal. Vicky, is it? His English is flawless, accented with American West Coast ease. Beautiful name. Are you from the States originally? Chicago, she says, caught off guard by his warmth.
No kidding.
I went to USC, but I spent a summer in Chicago during an internship. Incredible city. He grins. Best pizza on the planet, hands down. Vicky finds herself smiling back. That's what I miss most, actually. There's a place in Itaewon that does a decent deep dish if you ever... Mr. Chen. Bonwa's voice cuts through the conversation like a blade. I believe we have business to discuss. David's smile doesn't falter, but something knowing flickers in his eyes. Of course. Though I have to say, Bonwa, you've got quite the setup here. Beautiful penthouse, beautiful view. His gaze slides meaningfully to Vicky. Beautiful company. The temperature in the room drops 10 degrees. Vicky watches Bonwa's expression transform into something carved from ice. His posture doesn't change, but there's a coiled violence in the way he stands that makes the hair on the back of her neck rise. Miss Vicky, he says with deadly politeness. Would you bring us coffee? It's a dismissal. A reminder of her place. She should be grateful for the escape. Instead, fury burns hot in her chest. Of course, she says with equal politeness, her smile sharp as glass. As she turns to leave, she hears David say, "Actually, before we start, I wanted to give Vicky wait." He pulls out a business card, holding it out to her. "That restaurant I mentioned? The owner's a friend. Tell him I sent you, and he'll take care of you. Consider it a welcome to Korea gift." Vicky reaches for the card, genuinely touched by the gesture. Bonhwa's hand shoots out faster than a snake's strike, snatching it from David's fingers before she can take it. "Miss Vicky has everything she needs here," he says, his voice glacial. "She won't be requiring recommendations for outside establishments." The silence that follows is suffocating. David's smile finally fades. "I meant no disrespect. Didn't you?" Bonhwa tears the card in half, then quarters, then lets the pieces flutter to the floor like snow. "My apologies, Mr. Chin. I'm afraid I'm not interested in your development proposal after all. Park will see you out." "Bonhwa." Vicky starts, horrified. His eyes cut to her, and what she sees there stops her cold. Not anger, not even jealousy. Possession. Pure and absolute. "Leave us," he says quietly. David Chin gathers his briefcase with careful dignity, but as he passes Vicky on his way to the door, he murmurs just loud enough for her to hear, "If you ever need anything, and I mean anything, my office number is public record." Then he's gone, and Vicky is left standing in the aftermath, staring at the man who just destroyed a business deal over a friendly gesture. Bonhwa hasn't moved, hasn't looked away from her. "You want to know what terrifies me?" he asks, his voice dangerously soft. "It's not the enemies at my door or the rivals circling my territory. It's the way you smiled at him, Vicky, like he could give you something I can't. He was being kind. He was making a move." Bonhwa crosses the room in 3 strides, stopping just short of touching her. "And you were going to take that card. You were going to meet him, let him charm you, let him convince you that his world is better than mine." "Maybe it is." The words burst out before she can stop them. "Maybe his world doesn't come with interrogations and destroyed business cards and... Is that what you want?" He leans in, his breath ghosting across her lips. "Safe? Normal? A man who asks nicely for your time instead of demanding it." Yes, she thinks. That's exactly what I should want. But her treacherous heart whispers something else entirely. "I want," she says slowly, holding his gaze, "to be able to accept a restaurant recommendation without you tearing it to pieces." His jaw tightens. "I'm irrationally, destructively obsessed with you, Vicky. I can't apologize for it. I can't turn it off. And I sure as hell can't stand by and watch another man offer you an escape route from me. That's not healthy." "I never claimed to be healthy." He finally touches her, his fingers ghosting along her jaw. "But I'm honest." Can David Chun say the same? Can he tell you that thinking about you keeps him awake at night? That he'd burn this entire city down just to see you smile at him the way you smiled at David? That's insane. Yes, he agrees simply. It is. And it's yours. All of this madness, this obsession, it's all for you. The question is, what are you going to do about it? Vicky's hand trembles as she sets down the untouched coffee. And for the first time since she arrived in Seoul, she doesn't have an answer. The silence between them stretches like a knife blade, sharp and dangerous. Vicky steps back, needing space to think, to breathe. "I need air." She makes it 3 steps before his voice stops her. "I've killed men for less than what he did today." She turns slowly. Bonhwa hasn't moved, but his hands are clenched at his sides, knuckles bone white. "He offered me a restaurant recommendation," she says carefully. "That's all. He looked at you like you were attainable." Bonhwa's voice is barely above a whisper, but it carries the weight of a threat. Like you were something he could have if he played his cards right. Like you weren't already. He stops, jaw working. Already what? Yours? Vicky's laugh is sharp. I'm not a possession, Benoit. I know that. He runs a hand through his hair, and she sees it then, the tremor in his fingers. He's not just angry. He's barely holding himself together. Don't you think I know that? Don't you think I hate myself for feeling this way? Then stop. I can't. The words explode from him. I've tried. God, Vicky, I've tried. For 6 months, I've told myself to maintain distance, to treat you like any other employee. But every morning you walk into this kitchen, and I forget how to breathe. Every time you smile, those rare, devastating smiles, I'd give up my entire empire just to be the reason for them. Vicky's breath catches. She's never heard him like this. Unguarded. Raw. When you left yesterday for that interview, I sat in this penthouse for 3 hours and 47 minutes imagining every possible scenario. You meeting someone. You liking them. You leaving and never coming back. His voice drops. And it wasn't the loss of a good maid I was mourning. It was you. The way you hum when you think no one's listening. The way you read the same page of your book 3 times when something troubles you. The fact that you take your shoes off the second you enter your room because you hate the way they confine your feet. How do you? Because I notice everything about you. I'm irrationally, destructively obsessed with you, Vicky. And seeing David Chin look at you like that, seeing you smile at him with such ease when you guard every smile around me. He moves closer, his eyes desperate. It made me want to tear his throat out with my bare hands. It made me want to lock you in this penthouse and never let you see another man again. And I know that makes me a monster. But at least I'm honest about what I am. Vicky's heart is hammering so hard, she can feel it in her throat. This isn't love, Benoit. This is obsession, control, madness. He nods. I know. But tell me you don't feel it too. Tell me when I'm close to you like this, you don't feel your pulse racing. Tell me you haven't thought about what it would be like if I crossed that final line between employer and something else entirely. She wants to lie. She should lie. I don't trust it, she whispers instead. Men who say they're obsessed, men who say they can't live without me, they always end up hurting me. Something shifts in his expression. Have dinner with me tonight. Not as your employer. As someone who wants to prove he's different.
Bon HW.
Just dinner. Here. Safe. His voice gentles. Let me show you I can be more than this jealous, possessive thing. Please. That word again. Please. It costs him everything. Against her better judgment, Vicky nods. He cooks for her. That alone is enough to stun her into silence. Benoit, who has a private chef on call 24 hours a day, stands in his kitchen preparing bulgogi and banchan with steady, practiced hands. He moves through the space with the same lethal grace he brings to everything else, but there's something almost meditative about it. My mother taught me, he says without prompting, as if sensing her unasked question. Before everything. She said a man who couldn't feed himself was a man who'd always be dependent on others. Vicky sits at the kitchen island, watching him work. The domesticity of it is jarring against everything else she knows about him. Tell me about her, she says quietly. Your mother. His hands still for just a moment. Then he continues slicing vegetables with precise, controlled movements. She was soft in a world that demanded hardness, kind in a family that valued ruthlessness. He glances at her. My father said it would get her killed. He was right. That wasn't her fault.
No.
It was his. Benoit's voice hardens. He brought violence into our home and expected it not to touch the people he loved. He made enemies and thought he could keep us separate from the consequences. Is that why you never? Vicky trails off, but he understands. Why I never let anyone close. Yes. He plates the food with careful precision, then joins her at the island. After my mother died, my father changed. Every kindness became a weakness to eliminate. Every attachment, a vulnerability. He trained me to see people as either assets or threats. Nothing in between. I'm not sure which one I am to you, Vicky admits. Both. His honesty is brutal. You're the biggest threat to my control I've ever encountered. And you're the only thing that makes me feel human. They eat in charged silence. The food is perfect. Of course it's perfect, but Vicky barely tastes it. My father used to cook too, she says finally. Sunday dinners. He'd make this elaborate meal, and we'd all sit around the table playing Happy Family. And then Monday would come and… She sets down her chopsticks. He taught me that the most dangerous monsters are the ones who can pretend to be normal. The ones who cook you dinner and tell you they love you before they hurt you.
Bon HWS expression d'Arkansas.
I'm not going to hurt you. You already have. This afternoon with David was unforgivable. I know. He reaches across the table, stopping just short of touching her hand. But I'm not your father, Vicky. Or your ex. I don't hide what I am. I don't dress up violence as love or control as protection. His fingers finally brush hers. I'm a monster. I've done terrible things, and I'll probably do more. But with you, I'm trying to be different. I'm trying to… He stops, jaw tightening. I'm trying to be someone worthy of the way you looked at me last night when you held my hand. Vicky stares at their almost touching hands on the table. Two broken people circling each other, trying to figure out if they can be broken together without causing more damage. I'm scared, she whispers. Of me.
Of this.
Of wanting something I know I shouldn't have. His thumb traces a slow circle on her palm. Then we're matched. Because I've wanted you since the moment you walked through that door 6 months ago, and it terrifies me more than any bullet or blade ever has. She turns her hand over, threading her fingers through his properly this time. His grip tightens immediately, desperately. I don't know how to do this, she says. How to trust again. Neither do I. His voice is rough. But maybe that's okay. Maybe we figure it out together. For the first time since Chicago, Vicky lets herself imagine it. A life where she's not running. Where someone's intensity isn't a red flag but a promise. They sit like that until their dinner grows cold, hands clasped across the table, two lonely people acknowledging they might be less lonely together. The call comes 3 days later. Vicky is folding laundry, her own private rebellion against the cleaning service Bonwa employs, a way to maintain some sense of normalcy, when her phone buzzes with an unknown number. Hello. Vicky? It's David Chun. I hope you don't mind. I got your number from, well, let's just say I have connections. She should hang up. After the scene in the penthouse, after the past 3 days of tentative peace with Bonwa, she should absolutely hang up. How can I help you, Mr. Chun? Please call me David. Listen, I know things got tense the other day, and I apologize if I caused any trouble. But I was serious about that restaurant, and I'd love to take you there myself. Dinner, tomorrow night? Just two Americans in Seoul, nothing more. Everything in her knows this is a terrible idea. But something else, the part of her that's been suffocating under Bonwa's intensity, that's been feeling more and more like a bird in a gilded cage, whispers that this is a test. A way to prove she still has autonomy. That she's not just trading one controlling relationship for another. I'd like that. Thank you. She ends the call and turns to find Bonwa standing in the doorway. His face is a mask, but his eyes burn. How long were you standing there? She asks, though she already knows. Long enough. He steps into the room, and she sees the carefully controlled violence in his movements. You're not going Excuse me? You heard me. You're not going anywhere with David Chen. The words are like ice water down her spine. She sets down the laundry with deliberate care. I'm sorry. Did you just forbid me from having dinner with someone? Yes.
No hesitaste. No apology.
After everything we talked about? After you promised you were different from the men in my past. This is different.
How?
Her voice rises. How is this any different from my father telling me who I could see? From Marcus tracking my every move. Benoit's control fractures. Because I actually have reason to worry. David Chen isn't some harmless businessman. He's been circling my territory for months, looking for weaknesses. And now he's found one. He moves closer. You. I'm not your territory. That's not what I meant. Yes, it is. Vicky's hands shake with fury. You talk about seeing me as a person, about being different, but the second another man shows interest, you revert to this. Possessive. Controlling. Forbidding me from living my own life. He will hurt you. Benoit's voice drops to something almost pleading. Maybe not physically, but he'll use you to get to me. And when he's done, you'll be caught in the crossfire. Then, that's my choice to make. She's shouting now, months of suffocation pouring out. Don't you understand? I can't live like this. I can't breathe like this. Every time I think maybe you're different, you prove you're exactly the same as every other man who claimed to care about me. Vicky. I quit. The words drop into the space between them like a bomb.
Bon HW freeze.
What? I quit. I'm done. I'm done being watched and monitored and controlled. She pushes past him, heading for her room. I'm done living in a prison, even a beautiful one. He follows, his composure cracking with every step. You don't mean that. I absolutely mean it. She yanks her duffel bag from the closet and starts throwing clothes into it. I should have left after that first interrogation. I should have left when you tore up David's card. But I let you convince me you were different. I am different. His voice breaks on the words. I'm trying, Vicky. I'm trying so fucking hard to be what you need. By forbidding me from having dinner with someone? She whirls on him. By deciding what's best for me like I'm a child who can't make my own choices. I'm trying to protect you. I don't want your protection. The words echo in the small room. I want my freedom. I want to make my own mistakes and my own choices. I want to be with someone who trusts me enough to let me live. Then live here. He reaches for her, and she sees the desperation in his eyes. Live here with me. I'll give you anything you want, your own space, your own money, whatever you need. Just don't leave. You're not listening. Vicky's voice gentles, but her resolve doesn't waver. I can't stay with someone who thinks loving me means caging me. That's not love, Benoit. That's just another kind of abuse. The word hits him like a physical blow. Please. His voice cracks completely. Please don't go. I'll change. I'll be better. You shouldn't have to change who you are for me. She zips the bag close. And I shouldn't have to fight for basic autonomy. We're toxic together. Can't you see that?
No.
He backs toward the door, physically blocking her exit. No, I don't accept that. We can work through this. We can. Move, Benoit. I can't. There are tears in his eyes now, and it breaks something in her to see them. I can't let you walk out that door. If you leave, you're not safe. You have no money, no support system in this country. Where will you go? Anywhere but here. She watches him war with himself. Sees the moment he realizes that if he physically prevents her from leaving, he'll prove every terrible thing she thinks about him. His hands curl into fists. Then, slowly, he steps aside. Vicky walks past him, and every step feels like tearing off her own skin. Vicky. His voice stops her at the penthouse door. When you realize the world out there is just as cruel as what you're running from, My door will be open. Always. She doesn't look back. If she does, she'll crumble. The elevator ride down feels like descending into hell. 3 weeks. 21 days of proving she made the right choice. Except she didn't. Vicky stares at the water-stained ceiling of the hostel, listening to the sounds of soul through paper-thin walls. Her stomach cramps with hunger. Again. The instant ramen she can afford tastes like cardboard, and she's already lost weight she didn't have to lose. The job at the restaurant. The one she'd interviewed for that started everything, lasted exactly 5 days. The manager seemed friendly enough at first. Fatherly, even. Until he cornered her in the supply closet, his hand on her waist, his breath smelling of soju and garlic. You want to keep this job? You'll be nice to me. She'd pushed him away.
Kaptepek.
Walked out with his threats following her. I'll make sure no one in Gangnam hires you. You'll regret this, bitch. He kept his promise. For more restaurants. For more rejections. Her resume was apparently flagged in some informal network of managers, all protecting their own. The legitimate world, it turned out, could be just as predatory as the criminal one. Worse, even, because at least in Bonhwa's penthouse, she'd been safe. Protected.
Scene.
Her phone sits silent on the floor beside her thin mattress. She hasn't called him. Pride won't let her.
But God, she's thought about it.
Every cold night, every empty stomach, every time a man looks at her like she's prey instead of a person. She thinks about his last words. When you realize the world out there is just as cruel? He wasn't wrong. He was just an asshole for being right. Vicky closes her eyes and tries not to think about the way Bonhwa made her coffee. The way he held her hand like she was something precious. The desperation in his voice when he begged her to stay.
She tries.
She fails. Bonhwa stopped functioning on day 4. Park watches his boss with increasing concern as another bottle of expensive scotch appears on the desk. It's 2 p.m. on a Tuesday. They have a meeting with suppliers in an hour. And Bonhwa looks like he hasn't slept in a week. Because he hasn't. Sir. Park ventures carefully. The Busan shipment. Handle it. And the Chin situation. I said handle it. Bonhwa's voice is dead. Or don't. I don't care anymore. Park has worked for Bonhwa for 8 years. He's seen him torture enemies without flinching. He's seen him make decisions that destroyed families and empires with cold efficiency. He has never ever seen him like this. Should I reach out? To find her? Bonhwa's hand tightens around his glass.
No.
She made her choice. But every night, he checks the security feeds from cameras he had installed around Seoul. Not to track her, he swore he wouldn't do that. Just to know she's alive. Just to catch a glimpse. 3 weeks, and he finally admits what Park already knows. He's not functioning. His empire is crumbling because he can't bring himself to care about anything except the woman who walked out his door. The woman he drove away by being exactly what she feared. He pours another drink and tries not to imagine all the ways Seoul can hurt someone alone and vulnerable. He fails. The rain starts at midnight. Vicky stands outside the penthouse building, soaked through, shaking from cold and something deeper. Pride kept her away for 3 weeks. Desperation brought her back. She has nowhere else to go. The night guard recognizes her immediately. Miss Vicky? Should I call up?
No.
Her voice is hoarse. Just let me up. Please. The elevator ride feels eternal. She catches her reflection in the mirrored walls and barely recognizes herself.
Thin. Exhausted.
Dark circles under her eyes. Hair hanging in wet ropes around her face. She looks like exactly what she is. Someone who gambled on independence and lost. The penthouse door is unlocked. She pushes it open to find darkness except for a single light in the study. Bonhwa sits in his chair, a half-empty bottle beside him. He looks up when she enters, and for a moment, neither of them moves. Then he's on his feet, crossing the room in seconds. You're soaking wet. His voice is rough and used. You're... Christ, Vicky, you're freezing. He doesn't say, I told you so. Doesn't ask where she's been or what happened. He just wraps a blanket around her shoulders and guides her to the couch with shaking hands. I'm sorry, she whispers. I'm so sorry. You were right. The world out there is just as cruel, and I had nowhere else to go. Sure. He's making tea now, moving through the kitchen with mechanical efficiency. You're safe now. That's all that matters. I failed. The words break on a sob. I tried so hard to prove I could survive on my own, and I failed.
No.
He hands her the tea, crouching in front of her so they're eye level. You survived 3 weeks in a city where you don't speak the language, with no support system, and you're still breathing. That's not failure, Vicky. That's strength. She stares at him through tears. You're not angry? Angry? He laughs, but it's broken. I've been barely functional since you left. Ask Park. I nearly lost a shipment because I couldn't focus long enough to make basic decisions. I drank myself stupid every night trying to stop imagining you hurt or scared or... His voice cracks. I thought you'd never come back. I thought I destroyed the only good thing in my miserable life. I came back because I had nowhere else to go, she says honestly.
I'm homeless. Broke.
I got fired for refusing to sleep with my boss. Benoit's expression goes lethal. Give me a name. It doesn't matter. It matters to me. His hands curl into fists. Someone hurt you. Someone made you feel unsafe. That matters. And this is why I left. But there's no heat in her voice anymore. You want to fix everything with violence.
No.
He forces himself to unclench his fists. I want to fix everything by convincing you to stay. Violence is just my first instinct. He meets her eyes. But I'm trying.
I've been trying.
I'm not very good at it yet. Vicky sets down her tea with trembling hands. I don't know how to do this. How to be with someone as intense as you without losing myself. Then don't be with me. The words cost him everything. Stay here as my employee, as my friend, as whatever you need to feel safe.
No demands. No expectations.
Just, please don't disappear again. That's not sustainable. I don't care. He reaches for her hand, hesitates, then completes the gesture when she doesn't pull away. I'd rather have you here in any capacity than lose you completely. If that means I suffer watching you from a distance, then I'll suffer. I'm good at suffering. She looks at their joined hands. At this broken, dangerous man who's offering her safety with no strings attached. At the 3 weeks of misery that taught her that total independence isn't living, it's just another kind of isolation. What if, she says slowly, what if we tried something different? Not employer and employee. Not you obsessing and me running. But two very damaged people learning how to be together without destroying each other. Hope flickers in his eyes. I don't know how to do that. Neither do I. She squeezes his hand. But maybe that's okay. Maybe we figure it out together. Make mistakes. Set boundaries. Fail sometimes. But try. I'm going to mess this up, he warns. I'm going to be too possessive and too intense, and I'm going to need too much space and push you away when I'm scared. She manages a weak smile. We're perfectly matched disasters. Is that a yes? His voice cracks on the question. Are you saying you'll stay? I'm saying I'll try. She meets his eyes. But Benoit, if you ever forbid me from something again, if you ever try to control who I see or where I go, I won't. He brings her hand to his lips, pressing a desperate kiss to her knuckles. I swear to you, I won't. I'll work on it. I'll get therapy or read books or whatever it takes.
Just don't leave again.
Please. Vicky lets him pull her into his arms, lets herself collapse against his chest, and finally, breathe. They're broken. Both of them. Damaged by pasts that taught them all the wrong lessons about trust and love and safety. But maybe that's okay. Maybe broken things can still fit together. Maybe perfectly matched disasters can learn to survive as a team instead of destroying each other. Outside, the rain continues to fall on Seoul. Inside, two lonely people hold each other in the darkness and promise to try. It's not a happy ending. Not yet. But it's a beginning. And sometimes, for people who've only known endings, that's more than enough. Please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share this video. I love you all.